It's real sunlight. But if you were here on Remembrance Day, it would be real sunlight. Another couple of differences between what you see then and what you see now is, for example, the light today took about 1.5 minutes to cross the stone. That's how long it takes to play the last post. On the 11th at 11 o'clock, the light takes 11 minutes to cross the stone. And at exactly 11 o'clock, the light is shining on the word love. Now the words, greater love hath no man, are words from the Bible. The full text reads, greater love hath no man than this, than he that lays down his life for his friends. And those words were chosen to put on the stone because the stone actually represents the tombstone of those that did lay down their lives for their friends, for their country, whatever. Now you're standing in the Victorian War Memorial. There's one of these in each capital city around Australia, lots of little ones in country towns all over the place. Every town will have its own war memorial. They were all built because of the First World War, and I'll explain why. At the outbreak of World War I, Australia had a very, very small population. I'll give you an example of that in a minute. And I'm going to use Victorian figures because we're in the Victorian Memorial, but the same numbers apply pro rata to the other states. 114,000 Victorians enlisted during World War I. Now that doesn't sound very many. We had a football match the other day that nearly had that many people there. But when I tell you that 114,000 represented about 50% of the male population, shows you how small the population was. And it also shows you the commitment because they were all volunteers. Now of that 114,000 that enlisted, 89,100 were sent overseas to fight. And of that 89,100, 58,000 were casualties. If you want to do the sums on that, that means your chances of coming back without being killed or wounded were only 3.5 out of 10. If I asked you to cross St Kilda Road and said you've only got 3.5 chances out of 10 of getting across the road, you wouldn't do it. But that's what Australian soldiers faced during World War I. Now, as a consequence of these horrific casualty numbers and this very low population, every single person in the country knew somebody who'd been killed. If it wasn't a direct family member, like a brother, a cousin, an uncle, or something like that, it was somebody that you went to school with, or played sport with, or grew up with, or lived next door. Everybody knew somebody who'd been killed. And if you wanted to go and do the normal things that humans do when a friend or a loved one dies, things as simple as putting flowers on a grave. The graves were in France, or in Belgium, or in Turkey, or in the Middle East. And if you wanted to go and visit, that was going to cost you 3 months on a boat, if you had the time and the money to do it, and most people didn't. So all around the country, these memorials were built with names to provide places where people could go and go through the same process. You go, like you could lay flowers, you could do the same things you did in a cemetery, that sort of thing. And in the big cities, they built big ones like this. That's why the stone. That's why the names in the books around the walls. And that's the purpose of the shrine, to provide a place where people could come and mourn and grieve. Now let me tell you a little bit about the light. The light wasn't real, got to emphasise that. And it doesn't come from up there. It actually comes through the building, through the walls of the building. If you look on either side here, you can see how thick the walls are. There's 2 of them. There's a hole on the outside, another hole on the inside. Those 2 holes are connected by a shaft. And on the 11th of November, the Earth and the Sun are in such a position that the sun shines down that shaft, hits the corner of the stone, and as the sun moves in the sky, the light moves across the stone. That's why it takes 11 minutes. Now, I'd like to show you both of those holes, but one of them's outside, and you might have noticed we're not. So I'll show you the inside one. If you're on this side of the room, you need to turn and face that way, then look up. And follow the little red dot. If you look up there, you can see that hole. Now, it's a funny shape hole. The reason for the shape is that it only allows the sun to hit that corner of the stone, and when it gets to here, it disappears. It doesn't sort of walk up the wall or anything like that. And if you miss it, come back next year. Right? And the other thing you might notice about it is it's a black hole. Now, the reason for that is that we've got a projector up in there that projected the light that you just saw, and the pigeons love getting in and sitting on the projector and doing what things pigeons do on projectors. So we've got a plate on the outside to stop them getting in. It also stops the light getting in. But I can guarantee you, if the plate was missing, you'd be able to see straight through the sky.